What's happening, guys? It's Abhinav from Phone Bunch and welcome to our review of the Gionee A1 Plus. Now this phone is priced at about Rs 27,000 and with that you are getting a 6-inch Full HD display, a MediaTek Helio P25 processor, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of onboard storage. You have dual rear cameras as well and a very solid build quality, a large 4550 mAh battery too. Now we've already talked about the specs. Now let's talk about the experience of using this phone. Overall, the software is quite fluid. You have Amigo OS running on top of Android 7.0. The skin, I didn't particularly like it, but still, overall it's quite fluid. Talking about build quality, that is actually very solid. On the left, you have the SIM tray, where you can use either 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card and 1 micro SD card. Again, with 64GB of storage, you really won't need a micro SD card that often. And on the right, you have the power lock and unlock button and the volume rocker. Both are very sturdy. They are quite clicky as well. Now, coming to the bottom of the phone, you have a single speaker on the right, you have a micro USB port, that is a bit of a disappointment, and on the left you have the microphone hole. Now this is a dual speaker smartphone, the earpiece also acts as a speaker. At the top you also have a 20 megapixel front camera along with LED flash, that is actually something very neat. Moving to the back is where things get interesting. You have a 13 megapixel rear camera along with a 5 megapixel camera as well, which is used for focus and depth sensing. Overall, the build quality on the device is solid. It is a very heavy phone though, but given that it has such a large battery and a large display, it's not that big of a surprise. The fingerprint sensor does work decently well. If there's any grime or if your fingers are wet, well, it doesn't work at all. Overall, it's quite decent. The display, however, here is really good. Great color reproduction, excellent viewing angles, and it is plenty sharp. You really don't find any fault with this display. And the protective layer on top is also quite resistant to scratches. I didn't use a screen guard here. And if we talk about sensors, you have an accelerometer, magnetic field sensor, you have a gyroscope available as well. So pretty much everything that you need along with the light and proximity sensors. Call quality is also quite good. The earpiece could have been slightly louder but still gets the job done. Signal reception is quite okay as well. I didn't face any major issues with signal loss on this phone. Moreover, you have dual band Wi-Fi available as well, which is always appreciated. Now let's get to the meat of this phone. The camera was always going to be the make or break point for this phone. Now the dual cameras with the portrait mode does work out quite okay. The one thing that you have to note is that you have to keep the phone very still while capturing images, especially in the portrait mode. If you don't do that, the images do come out blurry most of the time. So that is something you have to keep a note of. The shutter speed is quite good for the 13 megapixel rear camera, but it seems that the 5 megapixel rear camera, which is used for focusing, it does take a bit of time to capture. Now, you have a professional mode available as well, which lets you control shutter speed, ISO, pretty much everything that you need to know about. The front-facing camera is excellent. It does tend to overexpose a little bit when you are in darker areas, but the flash helps to tone that down. Now here are some of the image samples. Some of them have been captured in portrait mode and you can see that the bokeh does look quite decent. But then again, it does seem quite artificial. There are spots in images which are missed at times. Sometimes it overcompensates and blurs even the image that you are trying to capture. So yes, Gionee does need to take some time out and figure out the portrait mode, which again, nobody has been able to perfect till now. Now talking about audio quality, as I said earlier, you have stereo speakers here, so the earpiece also behaves as a speaker along with the bottom firing speaker. The effect is quite alright, but one thing that you are going to notice on this phone is that the earpiece isn't as loud as the bottom firing speakers. Of course, that is a dedicated speaker, it is going to be far louder. And you can hear the difference here. But even then, yes, the speakers are quite loud, a bit tinny, and that's because of the speaker in the earpiece. That sounds really tinny. The headphones that come within the box are quite good as well. They do sound quite alright, but there is a bit of a cable noise with that microphone, but again, it comes free within the box. FM radio is also supported with recording and it does work out quite well. And well, you also get one more addition. It's Waves Max Audio that really enhances the audio through the speaker of this phone. It makes it louder, it makes it more punchier as well. With that, let's get to software. So we've already talked about Android 7.0 that is running on this phone with a skin on top. So you have all your apps laid out on the home screen similar to iOS. It does take a little bit of time to get used to if you're coming from stock Android, but the UI as well as the animations are really fluid. MediaTek Helio P25, although not the most high-end processor in this price segment, it does perform decently well. It's no Snapdragon 820 or 821, let's say that is found on the OnePlus 3T, but still performs decently well. There's a lot of bloat that comes pre-installed, but thankfully you can uninstall it. One of the major highlights of this phone is definitely great battery life. I was able to get through 2 days of use easily on most of the days that I was using this phone. Now, when it comes to competition, there is a lot in this price segment. You have the Moto Z2 Play and you also have the segment leader, OnePlus 3T, which is still available. The 3T as well as the Moto Z2 Play both have better cameras. Overall, if you are looking for a very large display, yes, there aren't many options in this price segment, but Samsung has the Galaxy A9 Pro available as well. The Gionee A1 Plus does falter in the camera department, which should have been the highlight of this phone. So there's a lot to choose from in this price segment. I hope this video helped you in making a decision. Thanks for liking, subscribing and sharing this video. We'll be back with more. And as always, have a great day.